Hello, good evening to you. Warm welcome to Prime Business with me, Pius Kojo Baka. The Association of Banks says some banks have resolved to extend their banking services in a bid to ease pressure at the banking halls following the incessant internet disruptions. According to the association, this is part of the several measures they have instituted to ensure that customers have access to their funds despite the challenges. John Iwa is the chief executive of the Ghana Association of Banks and has been speaking to Joy Business.
You know, as banks, because the work we do, we need, we ride a lot on trust and confidence. So banks have invested heavily in creating multiple redundancies within their communication infrastructure. So when the fiber optic communication fails, they can fail over to maybe a radio connectivity or to a satellite connectivity. So at the bank level, the problem is less pronounced. But the problem is that if you want to do remote banking, you need not just the bank to be active. The bank will be active, but you who is connecting to the banking infrastructure, are you active? Or is your connectivity strong enough to be able to process the transaction you want to execute? Or the third-party application you are using, are their connectivity also active in a manner that can process the transaction you want to execute? So it is more or less, when we say a connected world, this is the reality of the situation, that what affects one leg could be a problem for the entire ecosystem. That is why we need every actor within the ecosystem to be up and running, having all the necessary redundancies in place, so that when situations such as this occur, we can always fail over to our disaster recovery mode, and then we can then recover our service disruption. But as it is now, because of the enormity of the communication disruption, the service breakdown has not been resolved at the moment. I've learned within the last couple of hours is a few banks have contacted us who may be opening even branches that are not routinely operational during Saturday banking. You know, during Saturdays, not all the branches are active. We are picking feedback that some banks are taking the decision to open a lot more branches than they normally do, so that the traffic that we envisage, if the problem persists tomorrow, we will still have a situation under control and not register long queues in the few branches that will be open. And these are not normal times, and we're just hoping that customers will bear with us.
Away from that, the managing director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abinamwa, has indicated that local institution participation in the stock market has increased significantly by 30%. This she attributes to the financial literacy levels in the country. She spoke at the launch of the National Youth Investment Educational Training Program. There is more in this report.
24 National Youth Investment Educational Training Program is expected to help the youth in Ghana to acquire practical knowledge and skills about the investment landscape. The program includes an investment educational tour to tertiary and secondary institutions to instill in them the attitude of savings and investment. In an interview, Managing Director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abinamwa, said increased participation on the stock market is as a result of an improvement in the financial literacy levels.
In fact, last year we saw that the number of accounts opened at the CSD went up. Last year was also a bit of a difficult year because of the GDP. Investors were very skeptical. So it all comes to the fact that we must educate people, because following that experience, people were like, oh, I don't want to invest again. But it's also very important to teach people how to invest so that no one puts all their eggs in one basket. The one thing we've definitely seen increase significantly is our local institutional investors' participation in the market. Last year, over 30% of the trade was of the local institutional investors. Many workers are contributing to these pension schemes, which means that all of us, our monies came into the market. And so we think that what we are doing will bear fruit, and we see the fruits beginning to bud.
She also called on policymakers to collaborate and put in place policies to improve financial literacy in educational institutions.
We believe that working with our policymakers in line with the SEC's Capital Market Master Plan development, we want to work with the Ministry of Education and make sure that financial literacy becomes part of the training of anyone who goes to school in Ghana, whether it's from 5 years or it's even younger, all throughout our tertiary institution. Every single one of us understands the basics of financial literacy. It will help us across everything we do, from telecoms to our businesses, how we organize our businesses, to how we invest as portfolio investors on the Ghana Stock Exchange, to how we buy government treasury bills, to how we fund companies that need capital. So it's a very important tool, and I think it's something we have started discussions on, and it's receiving interesting buy-in. But for it to work, it means that all of us, all Ghanaians, as we are interested in the educational curriculum, have to come together and dialogue to see the best way we implement it.
Young people were advised to pursue financial literacy in order to improve their savings culture.
Overregulation of artificial intelligence will increase unemployment rates in Ghana. That's according to the Chief Technology Officer of IDEC Digital, Emmanuel Gbeve. Government in January this year said it is developing a comprehensive policy document to regulate the use of AI in the country. But Mr. Gbeve argues that the move should be complemented by strict monitoring systems. He spoke to Joy Business at the 2024 Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana's World Consumer Day celebration.
The World Consumer Rights Day is an annual event celebrated on March 15th to raise awareness about consumer rights and needs. Emmanuel Gbeve said more exploration should be done in artificial intelligence to benefit consumers.
The bad parts, yes, we can maximize it to do more dangerous stuff with it, right? But that is why the regulator comes in, to say the way you are doing it wrongly. And also, we need to, the regulator needs to understand the technology to be able to regulate it. It looks like we are just firefighting most of the things that comes to us. We copied, from the Western world, not looking at what exactly our system look like. Whether what we are copying from the West is applicable to what we have here.
President of the Chartered Institute of Marketing Ghana, Dr. Daniel Kasati, said the CIMG seeks to establish World Consumer Rights Day in Ghana as a day to raise awareness of consumer rights amongst consumers, businesses, and the government.
So they realize that the global theme for this year's World Consumer Rights Day is centered around AI. That is why you see the discussions are tilted or focused on AI. We want to see how, let's agree also that today AI has room and is applicable in every sphere of life.
This year's event was under the theme Fair and Responsible AI for Consumers.
Still on the World Consumer Rights Day, CATS International is calling on relevant stakeholders to make the conscious effort of passing the Consumer Protection Bill into law. CATS International argues it is about time Ghana gets consumer protection law to protect the rights of consumers. Apia Akusi Adumakon is the Executive Director for CATS International West Africa and has been speaking to Joy Business.
To get to Parliament from the Ministry of Trade, or Parliament has to work on it. But when those institutions that are tasked to get the bill into law are not doing their work, or when they are dragging their feet, that means that you are not going to get the bill. And I can also say that I would say that there has not been seriousness attached to this particular bill, because a bill that it was started in 2006, almost 18 years, the bill is still not in a final shape to go to Parliament. And it's a clear indication that whoever is working on it is not serious.
Services Integrity Savings and Loans Limited has received International Standards Organization ISO certificate, which indicates that it has the capacity to manage its systems and information of clients. Well, this is part of a cybersecurity requirement from the Bank of Ghana for financial service providers in the country. Speaking to Joy Business at a short ceremony to receive the certificate from SETI Trust, Chief Executive of the company, Lydia Daddy, said this is part of commitment to ensure customers are fully protected. More in this report.
The ISO certification 27 is in compliance with the Bank of Ghana's cybersecurity directive to all banks for an assured safety system. Services Integrity Savings and Loans were assisted by Innovari and SETI Trust for the auditing and requirement processes, which took place almost a year. This achievement further indicates the company's readiness to provide a more secure financial services for its customers who are mostly in the security service. Here is Chief Executive Lydia Makudadi.
Is to show some level of commitment to our customers, especially in this day where we are all doing things on the IT front, to show them that their information or the dealings they carry out with us are protected and it's not out there. We have standards we are looking at, and the standards are not those set by us, but institutions which the whole world acclaims. And so for me, having been able to be certified tells us that what we are doing so far is worthwhile, and we can only improve on it as we go ahead.
After presenting the certificate, Regional Director for SETI Trust Anglophone Mike Kamau challenged the company to do more to improve upon the services so it can achieve higher certifications afterwards.
So going forward, yes, you've gotten the certificate, but now we have to maintain it. But you see, the challenge of maintaining it does not mean it's difficulty. It's actually a way of improving our productivity, our competence. So you'll see whatever you're moving, the stage you'll move in year 2024 to 2025, that means there will be maturity and you'll actually feel it. So my challenge to you is management system, that is the ISO standard, and your organization should not be separate, should be going one at the same time. Because the moment you separate the two, then you're not meeting the objectives, it's not adding value to you.
Services Integrity Savings and Loans Limited is a licensed specialized deposit-taking institution owned by the Ghana Armed Forces.
Economist Professor Ebu Texan says the hike in prices of commodity on the world market will have less positive impact on Ghana's export. This he attributes to the lack of value addition to Ghana's natural resources before export. He admonished government and other key stakeholders to be deliberate with their policies to improve the macroeconomic indicators. He spoke to Joy Business at a stakeholder engagement workshop and training for the reforms for special drawing right financing in Ghana's economic recovery.
The Economist Intelligence Unit earlier this year said after 3 years of extreme volatility, commodity prices will stabilize in 2024. Meanwhile, Professor Ebu Texan said Ghana is likely not to benefit much considering the current state of the economy.
Good prices, cocoa increasing. There's not much we can get from that if these price increases are not sustained for a period of time, because at times the cocoa that we even sell, we sell on the futures market, right? So, I mean, there's not much that you can get. See, commodity prices have been increasing over the last 100 years, decreasing over the last 100 years. Over short spells, they increase a bit and then they come down. So I normally don't think that Ghana should get too much excited about increasing commodity prices. I mean, and even for oil, it doesn't come to us. We only get the revenues from that, and how much revenue do we get? So I think that what our focus should rather be on adding value to our exports.
On special drawing rights, Director at the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Professor Peter Korte, called for a streamline of government expenditure.
Going to pay interest of 8-9% or a lower rate. Sometimes with the bilateral loans we engage with China, where we have to even mortgage our natural resources. So in as much as SDR also has some demerits, I think it's a better option than to go for some of the commercial papers and all the things we've been going for.
Research fellow at the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, Dr. Richmond Atta-Nkrumah said Ghana needs to stabilize the macroeconomic environment to create jobs.
And so it's important that we explore these options to help with our development finances rather than fall on very expensive international market loans and credit, which you have to service. And when you're servicing, you'll be spending a lot of revenues on the servicing. And that can affect the way you manage your public finances. It can affect your exchange rate. It can affect your inflation rate, because it can lead to a lot of imbalances in the system.
Now let's go shopping, shall we? Vegetable traders at the Kaneshie market are lamenting low patronage of their goods despite some reduction in the prices of their goods. Today on the Joy Business Shopping List, my colleague Jesse Erimagako gauges the prices of some vegetables in the market.
Welcome to another edition of the Joy Business Shopping List. Today we are at the Kaneshie market, where we'll be gauging the prices of some vegetables on sale. So if you are looking to buy vegetables for your meals over the weekend, you might want to stay with me as we find out how much it will cost you to acquire vegetables here at the Kaneshie market.
Adakano, Sesiano, ebi ton 13, ebi ton 14. Ebi su ton 50. There be ni hono. Ha be babi aka ba ko na mi no only timi ton 18, 17, kura 20. There be ho ne de wona no na te so. Be say no we am ko fa ye o de ma me 13. Me ba ye no bi su ko fa be 11. Enti edwetwa sisi. O se de ma ye no no. Aha e 2 cedi, ha e 5 cedi. E na we su 50 Ghana. De mi so. If it's a potato, and it's a winner paint in the cry 15 years, who are Udi Adaka Mudiano, and a baby boo, ama wabu, said the Oberton, who are Putano, say medium coffee and Putan or show up a cronimu, and on the Banya Ghana honey free. I sat them on the J30 in a day, no one issue any 15, it's about 30 million, and on taste about 20. Today I try 1 million, be question 1.5. And they say there above from, but it is only 50 Ghana match.
First, to say we say, we are first in the night 20. But say I know you my 15, and I say 10. Oh, now we must 7 CD. You won't get to answer 5 CD. Me and 10 CD. But we are similar to quiet Juma. To say 10 cedi say met me the amount of me say 25 and I can na me the amount 20 ne boy no first then na boy but they say there first ne turn 16 million and 18 but they say no 10 million room 8 million room 6 million crowd room you kwa go so kofa nti bottle ba ko say no ya ji ba ko bia 20 Ghana to for 2 and I do our 2 nukrano and then me the buy ni 2 and carrot no ne manya or Jim 70 Ghana they send a dwana ye no ni nim ne enti dwana ye sa so yankopon ne to ande
e to le bia ko fa bia this week e ko fa price no form e bia next week o be ko ne ya 2 e bia kotoku and this week bia menya na be 600 next week me ko e bia 700 bi wa 800 and a basket no me sha price no for ma basket e didi so o mu different bebre o keto a kese no me sha 25 price no so a price no so wo for ma me sha 200 and a keto a so price no so a me sha 15 price no for so me sha 100 Ghana and a jamba kokko ni say no o to go ebu a me sha price no for ma me sha no 300 price no so a 400 and 35. 1 month ago, no meeting basket case me turn 15 and I get my turn 100 Ghana. Yes, a Muslim achieve no more anything. They say price no cost. Now you cover 800. Empty basket mention 25. Case no ma check it to 15. They say market in the coffin. A coffin. Yeah, what can I say fasting into? People for be bread. They say we do no matter so. The market they say we form.
these were some traders here at the Kaneshi market sharing with us the cost of acquiring some vegetables here. So if you are looking to buy vegetables for your meals, you can do them this weekend. There have been some marginal reductions in the prices of goods. So for Joy Business, Jesse Era Magbako.
Away from that, the National Health Insurance Authority is set to review some tariff service for health care providers to reflect prevailing market conditions. Speaking in an interview with Joy Business, the board member and chairman for the NHIS tariff review exercise, Dr. Isaac Morrison, said this will help sustain the scheme while making healthcare service affordable for all. More in this report.
A specialist group of clinical experts drawn from various health institutions is conducting a comprehensive review of the Ghana Diagnostic-Related Groupings payment method of the National Health Insurance Scheme. In an interview with Joy Business, a member of the governing board of the NHIA, Dr. Isaac Charles Noble Morrison, says this is in line with the policies of the authority to ensure equitable and fair pricing of health services nationwide.
There are several disease classifications in a manual called the International Classification of Diseases, ICD-10, and currently we are on ICD-11. Now, so all those disease pictures or the clinical pictures, what we call diagnosis, some of them you can easily group in the context that you'll be using the same resources to manage them. A typical, very simple analogy. Somebody has a cough, or somebody has an upper respiratory tract infection, or somebody has a flu. The approach to managing this would almost be the same in that context. So we then group those which are related and then quantify every detail that goes into it.
Dr. Ruby Aileen Mensah Annan is the acting director of the Strategic Health Purchasing Directorate at the NHIA.
And we try to do this periodically so that it would match up with the clinical pathways that are standard practice and of course the economic conditions of the country. But we hope that the outcome of this would be reasonable, realistic tariffs that the service provider would be able to implement, and hopefully the scheme would stay sustainable and then the providers to remain viable even when they provide services to our members.
The National Health Insurance Scheme Service Tariff Review Consultant, Professor Adukwe Hesse, highlighted the guidelines for the specialty group work.
The components of the tariffs, first of all, is to find out, and there's a team that's doing that, find out what are the costs of provision of health in Ghana. This includes the human resource, the overheads, and the different levels of facilities, and how much health consumables cost in Ghana.
The tariff review meetings are a statutory requirement in line with NHIA Act 2012.
And that's how we part company here on Prime Business with me, Pius Kojo Baka. For more stories, do log on to myjoyonline.com/business. Do have a lovely weekend. And Prime Sports is next with Razak Musbah. Do enjoy.
The business